You know, something that always amazes me when it comes to the Zelda ports on the Nintendo Switch is that Nintendo put so many Wii U games on the Nintendo Switch already. So check this out. We have the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 1, of course, Lego City Undercover, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, along with the DLC coming by the way, Pokemon Tournament DX, Bayonetta 2, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Captain Toad Treasure Trackers, Hyrule Warriors, New Super Mario Bros. U, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Wonderful 101, Pikmin 3 Deluxe, and Fatal Frame. So we have all of these, but arguably not one of the two most wanted ports on the Wii U. Does Nintendo just not like money? In this video, we are going to have a discussion on why the Zelda ports need to be on the Nintendo Switch, reply to some of the replies that I have heard in my comment section when it comes to Zelda games like The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker or The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess hitting the Nintendo Switch. We also will talk about the benefits of remasters or remakes as well. We'll go into other Zelda topics too and kind of just talk about The Legend of Zelda on the Nintendo Switch. If you guys love Zelda like me and you enjoy this video and the content I'm putting up, help that like counter get to 1,000 likes, and heck, even if you hate this video, dislike it into oblivion. And if you want to follow me on Twitter and help me reach my goal of 1,000 followers, you can follow me at Roborob93. We are about 70 away. So the Zelda games are something that a lot of people want on the Nintendo Switch. Even before the Legend of Zelda 35th anniversary, I think we all wanted games like the Legend of Zelda Wind Waker or the Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess on the Nintendo Switch. I mean, a lot of people even wanted other Zelda games like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. And of course, eventually we did get some of those games. Being able to play these games on the go is a dream come true for a lot of people. I think back to the 3DS days and whenever we got those games and how big and long those adventures were, like Xenoblades or any other bigger Nintendo games that set you on these large adventures like Zelda games like Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask, and it always left me in awe being able to take these on the go anywhere, anytime. I think that's what I love so much about any handheld in general. You can take these huge games on the go. You can play them on the bus, or maybe you're waiting on the couch for someone to do something, or maybe you're in a car ride, or at school, or heck, even on the toilet. You can play these games anywhere, so when the Switch was announced, I'm sure it wasn't just me, a lot of you guys probably thought of all these games that you can play on the go anywhere, anytime. To The Legend of Zelda, to Donkey Kong, to Super Mario, to other past games like Mario Odyssey. I don't know why I said Mario Odyssey, I meant Mario Sunshine. Enter the Nintendo Wii U, a console that had some good games, yes, but maybe wasn't the best in sales, with selling a measly 15 million units. Give or take, but that was about how much it sold. Compare that to, well, just about any other console, for the most part anyways. There were some that sold bad, but most consoles sold well over that many. And you can say, yeah, the Wii U didn't sell that well. I think the Nintendo Switch was a way to bring back a lot of older games, and I think Nintendo knew this and wanted to bring back these older games for other players who maybe haven't played it, or maybe they did play it, but they want to play it on the go. And I think Nintendo took advantage of that big time. But I think we need to be honest here. They left out some key games, that being Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, two games that are much beloved and would be perfect for Switch's portability. Now there are other versions of this game, and when people don't care about them for some reason, or they're against these ports for some really crazy reason, they say things like this: I already own the Zelda games, I already played the Zelda games, I don't need them, you don't need them, just buy a GameCube, just emulate them, they already exist on other platforms. I don't need them. In my opinion, this thought process is them thinking about themselves and what they have experienced, what they can do, how financially stable they are, and what they can do when they're buying things. They're also thinking about what age they are, how much access they have to these Zelda games. They are thinking about themselves and not other people. And when you're talking about your opinions on what you think about if these Zelda games should hit the Nintendo Switch, you have to think about yourself, yes, but you also have to think about the wider variety of people who play these games, because you're not the only Nintendo customer for these games. Now the thing about the GameCube is that it sold 21.74 million units. The Nintendo Switch has over 100 million players and is still growing very, very well. I mean, heck, we just got a new Nintendo Switch model that a lot of people are probably gonna buy even if they own a Nintendo Switch already. There just aren't enough GameCubes to go around. Now you could say, well, just get a Wii U or a Wii. And to that I say, the Wii U sold 15 million units, so there's not enough Wii U's to go around either, and even if you combine that with the Wii sales, which sold quite a lot, that doesn't doesn't guarantee the Wii is gonna last, or that doesn't guarantee if it's gonna work in the first place. Now, naysayers will say, well, you can homebrew it or emulate it. You don't have to have a powerful machine to emulate these games. It is really easy. But my question is, at what point, how many people know how to do it? How many people are willing to go out of their way to track down the files, look up tutorials, find the ROMs, and so on? When you can do the easier thing and go to GameStop or Target, or heck, you can even buy it online, or even better, buy it digitally and play it within 10 minutes. There are just so many reasons why buying it on other platforms or emulating are just not possible, or are just a complete hassle to do. Another thing you have to remember is that there are two versions of this game, the original and the HD remasters. So maybe you're someone who prefers the HD version of Wind Waker. Well, now you're limited to the Wii U. Now this means a couple things. This means you can't use a Wii to emulate it or play the original disc. This means using weaker computers to emulate Legend of Zelda Wind Waker isn't possible as well. Not only that, but getting Wii U ROMs is sort of a hassle to start anyways. So now your only option is to track down a Wii U and get it through that. Or again, get a more powerful PC, which is going to cost you more money or parts for that PC that you already have to play it on there anyways. Which again, the Nintendo Wii U only sold 15 million units. Why go through all of this trouble when you can just forget all that and just buy it from the eShop? Considering the Nintendo Switch is still growing and there aren't even enough Wii U's to support that at the end of the day, I'd say getting it on the Nintendo Switch is a better option. Now, another thing you have to think about when it comes to these hitting the ports and the people who want to play it or don't want to play it is that you have to think about the age range of the Nintendo Switch piece. It is incredibly wide to how many people are playing this system. This could range from not being born at the time or being too young at the time. If you're, say, in high school, odds are you probably haven't played them. I've seen comments in the comment section that say people who are older haven't played them either. Some people also just haven't finished the games themselves, so that's another thing you have to think about. You have to remember, when you're talking specifically about the Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, at the time of release, people really didn't like the game because of the art style. Now, Twilight Princess was the opposite, so I'm guessing a lot of people have played that game already, but a lot of people haven't played it too. And you know, some people just want to play the games. They want to go through the story, they want to play against the enemies and the bosses, and they want to relive that memory of that game. Now, when you say, oh, you can just get it on the Wii U, oh, you can just get it on your PC, oh, you can just get it on this, that, and that. There's one thing that's a cutback to when you're playing it on other systems. You're stuck to the TV. Even if you were to get it on other platforms that are portable, you're still stuck with portable. You can't play it on the TV. There isn't that option to switch back and forth effortlessly. That is the word that I am trying to say. But you guys get my point. It's easier on the Nintendo Switch to switch back between TV and portable. Now, for those who are about to jump in the comment sections and say, well, on the Steam Deck, you can go on the TV and in portable. Apparently, getting the emulator to work on the Steam Deck is pretty difficult. I watched a video by Wolfden who went through the steps and talked about how difficult it is to get the emulators running on your not your Nintendo Switch, your Steam Deck. And by the sounds of it, it sounds just like a huge headache. When again, if these games were on the Nintendo Switch, you can pretty much just go into the eShop, buy it, and play it within 10 minutes. So the portability and the option to also play it on the TV, plus the ease of access of buying the game and playing it sooner, is just a lot better than going through all of these hoops and all of these kind of different ways to play these games portable. And not only that, but with the smaller screen with the Switch, and especially the OLED screens, they probably will look fantastic. When you look back at the original versions of the games, this being Legend of Zelda Wind Waker and Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, they do look a bit rough. Even with the HD remaster of Twilight Princess, it still looks a bit rough. Even Wind Waker in some spots do look rough. You can tell that there is some improvement to be had there. Putting some quality of life features in the game will also be really great for the game as well. Add some things that they didn't have before and make the game experience better. As time has passed, video game devs have come up with new ways to make things better, whether that mean running better, or maybe making the gameplay better, or maybe fast travel being added on, or autosaves and so on. I think to not put these games on newer platforms like the Nintendo Switch will only lose that preservation of those games. Eventually, these games will become harder and harder to find and harder to play, resorting to the only way to play them through emulation. And while I love emulation and what you can do, especially the mod skins and all that fantastic stuff, I just don't want that to be the only option in the future. I mean, how many people were disappointed by the 3DS eShop shutting down? The loss of all those games and not being able to play those games. Do you want that for the Zelda games? I sure don't. Accessibility is something that is all around a good thing. The access to play these games, in my opinion, is something that is highly valuable to the player. Not having to jump through all these hoops just to play the games you want and still having the option to go the extra mile to play them in different ways. I think something like that is a positive for anyone who wants to play, even the people who don't necessarily want to replay them or don't like the games. And I think to say that because I already played it or because I have the money and resources to go out and buy a better PC to play these games at higher resolutions and frame rates, or the knowledge to emulate them and not think about other players who have lower income, or maybe they need to pay the rent, or maybe they just don't want to spend the money on it or the headache and resources to play it on the PC or mod their Wii or Wii U to play them, is a bit selfish. You have to really think about these games on a bigger scale than yourself, and heck, who doesn't like more options? Does having these on the Nintendo Switch hurt your experience at all? Well, not really. In fact, I would say for those who emulate these games, you should want these ports, because then you yourself can dump them on the PC and play them at higher frame rates and benefit from the extra stuff that they put in the game. Or, you know, you can do the other thing to play these games at insane frame rates and cheat codes and mods and all that good stuff that emulation has to offer. Not saying you should, because that is illegal, but it's out there. And you guys know what I'm talking about. That's one thing I always found strange about people who say just emulate it, that they don't want these ports, because you can play them on the PC. Like these ports will eventually hit the PC in ROM form. Why would you not want an improved version of the game that you're already playing, even if you're emulating it? Now, when you talk about remakes, here's where things get a little bit messy. Remakes can be a great thing, yes. The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, in my opinion, do not need remakes. But games like Oracle of Ages would be a great thing to get a remake of. Oracle of Seasons as well, if you could have both of them. But that's not where I want to stop. I think other Zelda games, the 3D Zelda games, could benefit from remakes as well. The Nintendo 64 games, to be more specific. Zelda games like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, in my opinion, would benefit from remakes. Now, I'm not talking about a remake like the Final Fantasy remakes. I'm talking about a one-to-one remake with new assets, resolutions, character models, and so on. I think that's where remakes would really shine with the Nintendo 64 Zelda games, and even some of the DS games. I mean, I know this isn't Zelda, but I always thought Metroid Prime Hunters would be a great remake. Maybe not even a remake, maybe even just an upscaled version. But anyways, there are so many things you can do with remakes. Link's Awakening, for me personally, was amazing. The side-by-sides are just astonishing, and something to really appreciate on how far the devs went into remaking that game and paying attention to every little small detail. There are also other games like Spirit Trackers or Phantom Hourglass, which is my personal favorite on the DS line, would be great for a remake. I mean, you go back and look at the graphics for those games on the DS, and it's doable. Okay, it's good for the time, but I think a complete remake of that would be necessary. Now, sometimes remakes do have their problems though. Sometimes they change things that don't need to be changed, or sometimes they don't look great. I'm talking to you, Pokemon games. That's my personal opinion. Don't hate me in the comment section, but I hate the graphics of that game. So there are some dangers in those games, and that's what I meant by saying it gets a little iffy when you're talking about remakes, because sometimes remakes don't need a remake, or sometimes they change things that don't need to be changed, or add things in that don't need to be there. So it's kind of a double-edged sword when you're talking about these remakes. But overall, I think when it comes to the Zelda remakes and remasters and all that kind of stuff, I think there's a ton of positives that can be done for these games. These games are much beloved, much beloved, and can sometimes be lost through time if we are not careful. And that's why I think remakes and remasters should happen. And with that, I will leave you guys with one question. What is your fondest memory when it comes to Zelda games? Not just the older games, the newer games too, like the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. I think my fondest memory would have to be the first time playing Wind Waker and witnessing the graphic style. I know a lot of people didn't like that when that first came out, but I love the art style. And that just might be the artist in me. I actually do draw a lot, even if I don't post it on YouTube or anything. But not just that, but how the combat plays as well. I think that's just Zelda in itself. Like, the Zelda combat is very solid and just feels great. And if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a thumbs up. It's just one click away and you're already here, and it helps the video reach more people. It also helps smaller creators, not just me, having their video pushed. Let's see if we can reach 1,000 likes on this video, and maybe even a little sharing on Twitter, Reddit, and heck, maybe even Facebook. All of that is much appreciated, especially your comments. And if you guys want more Zelda videos, here's one on the Zelda ports. Thanks for watching, guys, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos, and I will see you guys in the next video, provided you have that notification bell on, with all notifications, because sometimes you guys don't get my videos because YouTube doesn't bring it to you. And as always, stay safe, stay charged, and have a good one.